I'm sure that many of you, when you think about video games, picture in your mind the vast majority being young teens and adolescents. Video games are one of the most popular forms of entertainment in today's society, but that's just the problem. There are many factors to consider why violence exposed at a younger age can and does shape a person's thoughts into a violent or negative way. While researching, I've conducted a small list of the first ever banned video games, lawsuits, and criminal offenders that have blamed their violent acts on their favorite video game, claiming that they were trying to act them out in real life. The first video game to ever become banned and taken off store shelves was in 1971 called Death Race. The point of this game was to run over as many people as possible for points. What caused public outcry was that when a player ran over the target, it would scream in pain, followed by a tombstone placed where the target had been hit. And we will show a video of that. One of the first lawsuits to ever be filed against video game companies was by the parents of the victims killed in a 1999 school shooting of the Columbine High School in Colorado, where 12 students were killed and 20-some injured. During the investigation, it was found that the shooters would isolate themselves for hours a day playing extremely violent graphic video games that they become obsessed with and wanted to act out in real life. The suing parents claimed that playing the violent video games for hours on end can turn a person violent and cause aggression. In 2018, PC gaming companies banned a video game from releasing called Active Shooter. This game was a school shooter simulation where you play as a shooter in a school setting, killing teachers, students, and cops. Though this is just a very small list of some of the alarming concerns about what video games can involve, every year there are a handful of games that get banned, hundreds more that stir up controversy, and some that are even sued. With the debate between offenders and violent video games going on for years, there are two cases that I found to stand out the most. In 2003, murderer Devin Moore was arrested for stealing cars, then stealing a gun and shooting police officers in the head. He became obsessed with the game series titled Grand Theft Auto, which the object of the game is to steal cars, kill cops, and torture innocent people on the streets. In court, one of Devin's last statements to the judge was, "Life's a video game, you've got to die sometime." And then we have the deadliest shooter in human history, Andy Biernick. In 2011, he killed over 70 people and another 8 government officials. His favorite video game was a violent shooter game titled Call of Duty. During trial, he stated that he would use the game as a training simulator to better his aim at targets for when he would commit the acts in real life. At this point, you may be wondering what exactly causes these violent outbursts and behaviors in the minds of these people who play these types of video games, and why some people, why not everyone? Though it's very complex to provide an exact answer as to why they cause these outbursts, many psychological studies have shown that violent video games and media in general can alter a person's mood, causing anger and aggression. According to the American Psychological Association, the effects of violent video games have been studied for over 20 years, and that the link between violent video game exposure and aggressive behavior is one of the most popular and most studied. Dr. Vincent Matthews at Indiana University conducted a first-time ever study of the brain using MRI technology to document the effects of violent video gaming. To conduct these tests, he gathered 30 healthy males ages 20 to 30, and split them into two groups. One group was to play violent video games for 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, while the other group was not to play any violent video games at all. After the test was over and the MRIs were once again taken, the images of the brains from the group of men that played the violent video games now showed lesser blood flow and lesser activity in areas of the brain that involved emotions, attention, and empathy. Also, according to the American Psychological Association, playing a violent video game isn't going to necessarily turn a person into a killer, but it does add a likely risk factor. That being said, violent video games do make a person prone to violence through added aggression, and there are many factors to consider how these types of games can and do shape a person's thoughts into a violent or negative way.